Welcome to Billionaire Journey Podcast. My name is Shola Matthew. Have you ever wondered why some people fail, why some people succeed? Today, on this episode, we're going to look at how to fail woefully. Let me begin with a story. So yesterday, I shared something in a group that I belong to. It's actually a group where a lot of podcasters connect on Facebook. And I wrote it that I started this podcast about 7 days ago. I mean, that is the way I wrote it because I wrote it yesterday. So it means that I started about 7 days ago. So I said I started a podcast 7 days ago and I am publishing every single day. You need to see the comments under this particular post. Well, there were some people who kind of motivated or encouraged me, and there were a lot of people that were putting their own fears on me. Now I understand the sentiment because when I wanted to start podcasting every day, in fact, when I created this account on Anchor, I put weekly. But then I realized that this is something I could do. I shouldn't allow my fear, to stop me. The worst thing that would happen is that I will fail at it, right? But even if I fail, it means that I would have learned something along the way. But is it possible to do that? Yes. So I look at some people like Neil Patel because he has a podcast that he runs with, I think maybe Sinsu or something like that, that they run the podcast every single day. And I was like, is this possible? Yes, let me start. And then I began to, run the podcast. I began to, share stuff every single day. And since I started this podcast, I've learned a lot myself, right? So when like I said, I also had my own fears initially, but I needed to overcome it by doing, not by thinking, right? This is one of the ways to overcome a fear, by doing, not by thinking. So, on the comment, under that post, the comments were so amazing. Now, I don't blame these people. Some of them said that they tried to do a podcast every day, but they failed at it. Some of them said that their own podcast, runs 5 days a week. There was a guy who said that, he runs his podcast once a week and it's kind of a burnout. Now, initially, when people start something and one of the reasons they fail is that they try to become perfect, right? And sometimes perfection is the enemy of good, right? Sometimes perfection is the enemy of good. Now, the reason I'm starting this podcast and to say I want to share stuff every day is actually to show that it is possible to serve people every single day and enjoy it, right? I want to serve people every single day and enjoy it. So, one of the ways by which you can fail woefully at what you do is to listen to the negativities of people, right? If you've determined your mind and set your mind to say, I will do this thing, don't allow anybody to discourage you by putting their own fears. This is important, by putting their own fears on you, right? Many people, it's just like there's something, because I'm a certified life coach, and there's something that we usually talk about, especially about parenting and all of that. Many parents today fail at parenting because their own parents also failed at parenting them well. But there are some people who become successful at parenting today because their parents also failed at parenting. Now, it depends on the response of the person who is the receiver. This is what I mean. there's a story of a guy, right? Two boys with the same father. Now, while they were growing up, their father was a drunkard and he used to beat, and abuse their mother. So two of them grew up, and one of the boys became, a drug addict, a robber, and he was arrested, and jailed, and one day he was sentenced to death. And then the other one grew up to become a successful professional in his field, and he's well celebrated across the world. Now, on the day that the guy was sentenced to death, on the day that was supposed to be hung, right? And they asked him, "Do you have anything you want to say?" And he said, "Yes." And he said that it is because of his father that he became who he became. Because he watched his father beat, his mom. His father was a drug addict and all of that. He said it was because of his father that he became what he became. And then the other one said also, at another interview before that he actually became what he became because of his father. Can you see? The same cause, but two different effects. The same, the same scenario, the same situation, but two different responses. Now, the other one became successful because he saw that his father was a drug addict, beat his wife, and he decided that I don't want to end up with my father, so I'm going to do all I can to become a better person. He began to read and all of that. You see, two different situations. So, my friend, I want to tell you, if you want to fail woefully at whatever you do, start listening to the negativities of people, right? If you want to fail at what you do, start responding, start accepting, your fears. No, was that what I'm supposed to mean? Because when you accept your fears, it's even good that you accept your fears and work on it. But don't be afraid. You have to overcome your fears if you want to be successful at what you do, right? So if you want to fail at what you do, then you should, push your fears away and, and push whatever you want to do and leave it because of the fears that you have. Now, lastly, before I share that stuff on that community, I realized already I'd prepared my mind that something like that was going to happen, right? So if you're not yet ready to share, your journey with people who might put their own fear on you, their own failure on you. Now, I don't mean to say that these people were fair, because of course everybody works at a different level for a different reason. They've learned their own, lessons and all of that. They've moved on and they're doing very, very well, right? Many of them. But if you're not ready to put your stuff outside there and allow people to put their own fears on you, please do not put it out, right? Even if it's just one person that you could share it with. The first person that I shared this idea with my wife, she was like, "Wow, you can do it." And, her motivation kept me going. I was like, wow, yes, I could actually do this. So if you don't have a life coach, get a life coach to help you, to motivate you, inspire you, encourage you towards your goal. Or you could get an accountability partner who is going to help you, and push you towards your goal, right? Yeah, that is basically what I wanted to share with you today on how to fail woefully at what you do. Now, tomorrow, guys, is going to be fantastic because I'm going to share with you how to start your own podcast and make money from it. Please do not miss it. Okay? And I'm going to so share it, such that you're going to get all the juicy part of how to, and how to really make money. Now, lastly, one of the ways to fail woefully at what you do is to not know your why, right? If you don't know the why of starting what you're starting, then you're probably gonna fail woefully, right? When you know your why, you can always go back to your why and say, yeah, I'm gonna do it. So the question that you should ask yourself is this. I always ask this question whenever I have a very difficult thing to deal with, right? I say, and I always tell my friends or people that I'm coaching that they should ask this question as well. What is the worst thing that could happen if this thing doesn't happen, or if this thing happens? I hope you learned something today from this podcast. Please ensure you go to thebillionairejourney.com and sign up to our newsletter. Like I said, we're preparing a beautiful gift for you, and that gift will probably be what you are getting tomorrow. Go to thebillionairejourney.com and sign up to our newsletter. Subscribe to our podcast in whatever platform you're hearing from, and please leave a review, because that way our podcast can get suggested to as many people as possible. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.